I think failure is the highway to success, and I know that sounds like a platitude, but society or people teach us, right? They say, oh, if you fail and feel uncomfortable, you've done something wrong. And what I try to do in all of my books and my presentations and my tweets is you cannot get to the mountaintop without taking a few missteps. And so a business that wants to win, you have to outfail your competition. And as human beings, failure is not a bad thing. Ask yourself, what's the opportunity from the failure, and get in the game, because when you get to the last hour of your last day, it will not be the failures you regret, it'll be all the risks you didn't take.
All human experience is generated from within, is that so? All human experience is generated from within. So at any time, if you feel happy or unhappy, miserable, joyful, ecstatic, in a state of agony, doesn't matter what happens. What is your experience, pleasantness or unpleasantness? Just to know that it's happening from within, and it can only happen from within. You can either take external stimuli or you can create your own stimuli, but essentially it happens from within. This one thing, if it is not grasped, when you feel miserable, if you think it's this one, you're gone. The keyboard is here, but you're punching the wall. It's not going to work. This one basic fundamental thing is something that almost 90% of the humanity is always doing it wrong. Whenever they feel miserable, they think it must be this one or that one or that one or that one. No. All human experience is generated from within. If something is feeling unpleasant, first thing is to look at this. What am I doing wrong with this? Am I eating wrong? Am I sleeping wrong? Am I sitting wrong? Am I breathing wrong? Is my heart beating wrong? Something. My very chemistry is wrong. Something is wrong with this, not with that. So the moment you think by kicking the wall you can fix this one, then you made a fundamental mistake. The harder you try, the further away from it you go. The first thing is to bring balance. Once there is balance, then you can build a tower on top of this. If there is no balance, whatever you build will only lead to more trouble. The more basic you are, the better it is. So this is what a whole lot of humanity is seeking, somehow to remain basic. Because if you build something, it feels terrible when there is no fundamental balance. Anything standing up without balance is a big problem.
Sometimes a smart person comes in and they've already been taught a certain ways, or their mind's already been built up in a certain way. They are way too conservative, way too safe. And in the world of business, sometimes it gets ugly. Sometimes it gets dirty. Sometimes there's some risks you gotta take. You just gotta take, and it's not conventional risk. It's not conventional thing that I'm supposed to be doing this. No, you can't. There's sometimes that you gotta do some stuff that you can't read in any book or any videos on valuetainment. Literally, there are certain things in business that's like, what am I doing in a situation like this? I'm working on a book right now. I'm flying over to New York to talk to a handful of major publishers because they want me to publish this book that has to do with specifically on how to process issues. Once we learn how to process issues, but still if you're too conservative, you're going to be toasted in the world of business. There's going to be times in business that you have to do certain things that no one's going to think about. But smart people typically just go by the rule is what they follow. Not laws, not regulations, rule. It's a different story. They're afraid of breaking rules sometimes, conservative people.
You're not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. Big difference. Because if it's a habit, I can teach you to use science to break it. You see, all habits have three parts. There's a trigger, and in the case of procrastination, the trigger's always stress. Then there's a pattern you repeat, and in the case of procrastination, it is to avoid doing something. And then there's a reward. You get a little stress relief. The only way to break a habit, you guys, is not to deal with the triggers. You're never gonna get rid of the stress in your life. But you can 100% change your pattern of avoiding work. So next time that you're in a situation where you feel yourself hesitate, you spent way too much time checking out the highlights from last night's scores, what you're going to do is you're going to go, oh, I must be stressed out about something. Acknowledge the stress. Then go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want you to count to yourself because I want you to interrupt the habit that's stored here, and I want you to awaken your prefrontal cortex. Then I want you to just work, just for 5 minutes. The reason why I want you to only work for 5 minutes is because your problem isn't working. It's the habit of avoiding. I just need you to start. And here's the other cool thing. We know based on research that if we can get you to start, 80% of you are going to keep going.
I want to talk to you about where you're going and what you want to do with your life. You see, most people never go after what they want because they don't know every step they have to take to get there. I want you to think of a person going up the side of a wall of ice. Now, the only rule for reaching a goal that you have to know is knowing where you're going and knowing that you're going to get there. You do not have to know how you're going to get there. Now pay attention to this for a moment. Imagine the climber has all his equipment. He's got his crampons, he's got his climbing rope, his hardware, his ice axes. How does he get to the top? He's standing on the ground and he's looking at maybe 100-foot vertical wall of ice. He looks up and he has absolutely no idea the path that he's going to take. He just sees himself at the top. He reaches up and he puts one pick in, and then another pick. Then he raises one foot and then the other. Now he's not standing on the ground any longer. He's suspended on the wall on a vertical wall of ice that goes up for 100 feet. He adapts to the changes that is taking place in his environment. And then and only then does he see the next step. And he moves this pick, then this pick, then this foot, then this foot. Now, that's how he gets to the top, a step at a time. And that's how you're going to get to your goal. You just have to know the first step to take. And when you take that step, you're going to find that your conditions, your circumstance, and environment will change. Then you see how you have to make the next step. It's a matter of adapting all the time. You only have to know two things. You have to know where you're going, and you have to know that you're going to get there. You've got to see it in your mind. Now, this is the beautiful scenario. This is what it's all about. Save that in your mind and think of it often. Think, every time you think of your goal and you're trying to figure out how you're going to do it, think of that vertical wall of ice. What's the next step? That's all you really have to know.